I'm Claire Catlett, and I work with the Piedmont Environmental Council as the Rappahannock and Southern Fauquier representative. Piedmont Environmental Council is a land trust and nonprofit. We work in 9 counties across Virginia's Piedmont. That goes all the way from Loudoun County down to Albemarle County. And it's really the east side of the Blue Ridge in a lot of ways, and has a long legacy, this region, of being a very rural economy, but balancing growth on all sides, from big cities like Charlottesville and Washington, D.C. As a land trust, we work, our bread and butter has always been on conservation easements and working with landowners to understand how easements work, and also all the conservation steps you might take on your property. An easement is one of many steps, and in a lot of ways, just getting more information to landowners is the most important part of my job. Easements work to permanently protect your land from future development risks. And how that happens is an easement allows for a parcel of land to become one whole property in a lot of cases, so that can't be subdivided or has minimal subdivisions. This is a tool for landowners to recapitalize some of the value of their land also through tax credits at the state and federal level. And then additionally, it can help manage conservation resources like clean water, farmland soils, forests, by the permanent protection. The first thing a landowner always is most concerned about is the love of their land and what resources they really value. A lot of landowners see the clean water in their backyard or their forests on their mountain or the amazing views they have, and they say, this is special. I want to preserve it. I want it to be like this forever. And if you're a landowner and you have a home that you value, and you often are thinking, who's going to go with this land next? Is it my children or my grandchildren? And these are often the very central and core reasons to protect a land in conservation easement. Once an easement is completed, it's peace of mind for landowners because in a lot of ways it never changes what the use of the land can be agriculturally. It also allows for a landowner to reinvest a lot of those potential tax benefits into fencing projects, or also maybe they've learned more about conservation programs like cost share programs with NRCS or Soil and Water District, where they can get help creating watering systems or improved farm infrastructure. So in a lot of ways, an easement is a gateway for lots of better conservation practices on a farm. Not to say you have to have an easement to do those practices, but it really does, I think, engage the landowner in a lot of important decisions that help them prepare for the future and also achieve those future goals. I've seen a lot of farmers, especially, that use the conservation easement programs, whether it's a PDR or ALE program, to, yes, give them some financial opportunity to purchase adjacent parcels of land, and then also put those adjacent parcels of land into conservation easement. So they're able to grow, as you say, their enterprise and grow their footprint as a farmer, and it helps, I think, engage our rural economy at a stronger level by keeping those lands productive over time.
My name is Mike Sands. I'm with Bean Hollow Grass Fed, and this farm is Over Jordan Farm, and was purchased about in 1980 by my in-laws, and just recently they decided to go ahead and place a conservation easement on this property. So the easement's held by the Virginia Outdoors Foundation, and it permits one additional subdivision, but basically no more development of this land. So this land will stay in agriculture and conservation in perpetuity, which a lot of people think of that as a very long time. We're very proud of that. We think it's something that actually contributes to the economy of the county by maintaining open spaces and keeping the county an attractive place to visit and a place where people can still farm with a reasonable land cost, at least from a leasing perspective. The principal reason for putting in an easement was, frankly, a love of the land and a desire to keep this land open and in some sort of natural capital, preserving the natural capital. So the combination of the open space, but also the productivity of the land, the availability of using it for agriculture, for grazing, for forestry. Those are all permitted uses, and the family feels strongly that that's an important contribution to the larger community.
Development rights programs are unique because they actually offer another level of recapitalization for a landowner, which is this purchase of their development rights. Literally, a representative from a county or a nonprofit land trust might offer a payment to a landowner for the development rights. And that's usually at a fixed cost, and most often that's done by a county. Fauquier County is a county in the Piedmont that has a very successful PDR program, and their program offers about $10,000 of development right. NRCS offers several programs that can help a landowner pursue a conservation easement. One of those programs that's most important here in the state of Virginia is the Agricultural Land Easement Program. We call it ALE for short. And that is a program that allows for federal dollars to be awarded to states as an extra benefit, a financial benefit, to be layered into that easement package. So like a PDR program, the ALE program offers us a type of financial support for a landowner that would want to permanently protect her land in easement. Conservation easements can be helpful for leasing land. It is an important way for a region to keep farmland active. And the reason that an easement can keep farmland active for farming purposes is because it's not going to be turned into residential lots. Residential homes can be on the property, but a lot of times the land is really kept in use with grazing or hay fields. Land that an easement protects, first and foremost should have development potential. And that only is really critical because for a landowner to go to the process of an easement, it's nice to be able to receive some of those financial benefits. Now, I will caveat that with some historic properties are in small acreage, right, that may not give up development rights, but it's essential to protect a historic structure of some type. But often in this part of the Piedmont, we're looking at potential development rights removed from a property. And that depends on local land use code and county comprehensive plans to determine the zoning for a property. PEC and other land trusts work hand in hand with our county's comprehensive plans and zoning ordinances to make sure that our conservation easements are consistent with those guidelines at a local level. The biggest hurdle is time. I think often we think these decisions, we have all the time in the world to make them, and then something in your life happens and you need to make it quickly. So when I work with landowners, I'm as much patient as I can be responsive to their needs. And I think for landowners, it's important to think about what your timeline is. PEC is one of many land trusts who are able to help you through all steps of the easement process, through learning about the initial guidelines in terms of an easement to the financial benefits and tax benefits that can happen through an easement. And the realistic time frame, and we're going to help you through every single one of those steps. And it can take anywhere from 4 to 6 months to years for an easement transaction to be completed. And that really just depends on how a landowner approaches the easement process. Yeah, I would say the second maybe hurdle is financial upfront cost, and the reason that there are some costs is because it does require legal assistance to complete an easement. You will be adding a deed of easement to your property, and to hire a lawyer can be, in the price range of $7,000 to $13,000, depending on the level of commitment you're getting from that lawyer. And then on top of the legal fees, you'll have potential, title work that might need to be completed in advance of an easement. So that type of legal work, can be a cost. And what PEC and other land trusts are able to do is assist through our local conservation fund. So here in Rappahannock County, we have a Krebser fund for Rappahannock conservation, and this fund will give landowners those needed funds as financial support so that they can move ahead to the next step and not sweat the first few upfront costs on their easement. The farm here where I live at Sunnyside is a vegetable farm, and this is a 400-acre farm. So putting some of that land into farm production was a really important value that the landowners wanted, and they're able to achieve it, I think, because of the conservation easement that they placed on this property. The follow-up usually is a visit to your property to talk more seriously about the opportunities for conservation and ground truth, what the land is, what's important to you, how you're using the land, what your future might be on the land. And then, from there, we get serious, and we like to sit down and draft a conservation easement with its terms for you and your family to review. And we'll talk to you more about those costs that we talked about up front, and how PEC or other grants and state or federal aid can assist with those costs to make sure that, these transactions are not limited by cost alone. And the most important thing to us is just that the land is protected.